Right, well, I think that's everybody, so we'll get started. Good morning to you all. I hope you're all safe and well. For those of you that haven't watched one of our webinars before, my name's Emma. I'm one of the cruise connoisseurs here at Panache. We're joined today by the lovely Sarah Maxfield from Silversea. Sarah's going to be talking to us obviously all about Silversea today, and particularly about the expedition programme. I'm incredibly excited to be hosting this particular webinar because I was very lucky about 2 years ago to do one of Silversea's expedition cruises around sort of Central and South America and the Panama Canal. It was one of the most incredible cruise experiences I've ever had. Now, I'm not going to take up any of your time or overshadow anything Sarah's got to say, but if anybody does want to talk further about my personal experience, then please don't hesitate to get in touch at any point, and I'll be more than happy to talk you through everything. I can see we've got a couple of new names joining us on the webinar this morning, so I just want to give you a bit of an overview of Panache Cruises, of who we are and what we do. So for those of you that aren't aware, we have been founded by a real industry veteran, a gentleman called James Cole. You'll be able to see his picture there on the screen. We've all worked with James over sort of the past 12, 13 years. It's 13 years this year for me. So we're quite a small team, but we know each other very, very well. We've actually got combined over 100 years experience. So although we only started trading as Panache Cruises last summer, you're in more than capable hands with us. We've got, like I say, a wealth of experience behind us. We also offer a very personalised service. So whenever you speak to one of the connoisseurs here at Panache Cruises, it's a real one-to-one basis that we like. So they will take you through all of the inquiry and the booking process, and they'll remain with you throughout the entire journey, making sure everything that's important to you is catered for, whether that be pre-booking shore excursions, dinner reservations on board, particular flight seats that you may want to have, whatever those small details are that make your holiday the most enjoyable experience. We're here to do that, and we can certainly tailor make any dream holiday that you may be interested in. Hopefully an expedition cruise is one of those on your bucket list. There's nothing at all that's too much trouble for us, so anything that you need a hand with, then please don't hesitate to ask myself or any one of the connoisseurs here. There's lots of confidence messages out there in the market at the minute as well, so anything at all that you've got any questions about, whether it's particular about expedition cruising or just generally, if you run your mouse over your screen, you'll see a question and answer box at the bottom of the screen, so just pop anything in there. I'll try and answer those for you immediately, but don't worry, if we haven't got the answer to hand immediately, then I'll be in touch with everybody on an individual basis anyway. So I'll hand you over to Sarah now. Let's, with no further ado, we'll have a look at what Silversea have got to offer. And thank you very much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you so much, Emma, and thank you everybody for joining us this morning. I want to talk to you really today, obviously, about expedition, what Silversea offer, and also just focus on 3 key destinations that we offer. So Antarctica, the Arctic, and Galapagos. But that list is by no means exhaustive. You know, we go to some really amazing, unique destinations. We go to Papua New Guinea, we go to Easter Island. You know, all these amazing places off the beaten track as well. You know, if you're wanting something really different, Silversea is a great option to consider. In terms of Silversea as a business, we were founded in 1994 by the Lefebvre family of Rome, and that family have had, you know, involvement over the years. Less so more recently with the Royal Caribbean Group acquiring Silversea, and I have to say, for us, that has been fantastic, you know, especially during these COVID-19 times. You know, the support that we've received from the Royal Caribbean Group has just been amazing. So under the fleet, we currently have 9 ships in the fleet. Later this year in November, we are joined by the Silver Dawn. one of our classic ships. So we split the fleet into two different parts. So we have classic ships. So currently we have 5 in the fleet, and then we've got 4 ships which we will be using for expedition, obviously moving forwards. Where the ships are at the moment, obviously they're all laid up at the moment. The majority are actually in Marseille. We currently don't have a return to sail date just yet, but we do hope to update our guests and our trade partners on that soon. And also, as part of that as well, we are yet to announce our protocols for our return to sail. And part of the reason for that is we have decided to wait until we're obviously at the point of returning to sail, because we're in a very fluid scenario at the moment, but we hope to bring you information on that as soon as possible. So what makes us different as in terms of across the fleet, where are we different to others? So first of all, it's the size of the ship that we offer. So our guests cater for no more than 608 guests, which in the cruise world is really small. But one thing I would say is that the space that you get on board is by no means compromised, and I think at the moment that is very, very important for our guests. We have an amazing guest to staff ratio of pretty much 1-to-1, and we travel all over the world, traveling to over 900 destinations. You can see from the map here, the coverage that we have. So the light blue dots represent our classic product. So that's our Mediterranean product, our Caribbean product. And then the red dots signify our expedition product, which obviously we're here to talk about in the main today. So you can see we have so much coverage. It's so vast. It's all over the world. There's very few places that we don't travel to. One thing I would say about Silversea is that we are constantly looking and striving to go to different destinations and new destinations, but also as well to revisit destinations we may have had a break from as well over the last few years. And part of the reason for this is our return rate of guests constantly coming back to us, wanting to explore a different part of the world. So it is really important that we keep the product fresh. In terms of life on board, now when you're on an expedition voyage, the main driver really is to see what's out there off board and see the wildlife. However, you want somewhere really nice to come back to at the end of the day, and our suites really offer that. So they're all ocean view suites. We don't have any inside suites at all. They have beautiful linens and walk-in wardrobes. We do offer Wi-Fi. Obviously, however, with some of the destinations we are talking about today, that can be more challenging. But where we can offer it, we will absolutely do that. Our choice of toiletries is Bulgari, and you can choose up to 9 different types of pillows to really personalise your suite to suit you. One thing I think that really sets us apart is our Silversea Expeditions team. So we have one of the highest expedition team to guest ratio in the expedition cruising industry. So depending on what size of ship that you're travelling on, you can expect to have between 11 to 28 specialists on board. And these people, are obviously picked for their education and their experience, but also for their talent and their enthusiasm, and being able to build those relationships with our guests. So our guests can, really have deep conversations about a particular topic, which is their expertise. So on board we have biologists, naturalists, ornithologists, historians and photographers. So you really can, obtain kind of more learning whilst you're on board as well from these amazing group of people. The main way we get around on our expedition voyages is using our Zodiac boats. So these are rubber boats, so you sit on the sides there and you hold on with the ropes, and you don't really need to be physically actively fit to be able to access these Zodiacs. You just need to take quite 2 or 3 good steps into the Zodiacs, and then again when you're exiting as well. Some landings are dry, but some landings can be wet as well, so it just depends on where we are in the world. You know, and although we obviously we can fill these to higher capacity than we do, we try to have little groups that go off. And whenever I've done a Zodiac tour, we can actually, you know, you can really tailor make those you know, that boat to your experience, so you can go and see something that you wish, and that, you know, and just share that with others. Each Zodiac will obviously be led by one of the expedition team as well. One thing I will say though is just in terms of obviously going out and seeing things, especially on the Zodiacs, we can never guarantee that, because, you know, the weather, and particularly obviously the ice in some destinations, really set the schedule. You know, no landings can be guaranteed, so the itineraries that we talk about should be taken more of as a guide rather than a definitive. What the team will actually try to do is, if they know there's a particular type of wildlife that we're going to see today, and it will be gone tomorrow, we will change the itinerary to reflect that, because that's what it's all about. It's the best experience that we can give you as a business. We also have kayaks on board, so, you know, we start from beginner level as well, obviously up to more advanced. Again, it does depend on the weather in terms of whether we can get you out onto those kayaks, but, you know, if you are able to, a fantastic experience to be able to do that. In terms of our cruise fare when it comes to expedition, I've mentioned about the amazing team and the Zodiacs. In polar regions, you get a complimentary expedition parka. So this is a really lovely thick jacket. It's bright red, obviously, for some destinations in polar regions. We need to locate you and obviously keep you all together. So that helps. We have a really great partnership with the Royal Geographical Society, which allows us to access unique written and visual content from them. And they've obviously been a very you know, notable supporter and communicator of some of key explorer and scientists, Charles Darwin, Ernest Shackleton. And this allows you to really kind of immerse yourself into the area that you're in by reading some of the work that they've produced. We offer butler service in every single category of suite. You don't need to get to a certain level to get that. And the butler service is there really just to, again, enhance your experience, to make it just effortless, you know, and they will offer to make dining reservations. They can serve your dinner in suite if you don't fancy obviously going to one of the restaurants one evening. We also have free Wi-Fi on board, as I mentioned. Dependent on the ship, we have multiple restaurants. It just depends on which one you're on. So I would urge you to speak to the Panache team, who are absolute experts in Silversea, to obviously get their steer on that. We do have different sizes of ships with different facilities on there. We do include all beverages on board, including wine, champagne and spirits. However, what I would say to you is, if you are travelling to the Galapagos, you will not be able to get champagne, because we are unable to import that to the region. And rather than that being a negative, actually, I would see it as just being able to immerse yourself into the Galapagos. So all the food and the beverages and everything is locally sourced. You know, it really allows you to be immersed into everything that is the Galapagos. And then also we include gratuities on board as well. So I'm going to quickly just talk about the ships that feature in our polar region, so the Arctic and Antarctica. So starting with Explorer, which I believe Emma has actually travelled with us on. So Explorer has 144 guests on board, crew 118 crew. She has 12 Zodiacs as well on board. And she's just, you know, she really is a true expedition ship to really go to those hard to reach destinations. As you can see from the pictures as well, just absolutely beautiful ship. And then we have the Silver Cloud. So the Silver Cloud is a capacity of up to 254. It does just depend on where you are in the world in terms of the capacity, but sometimes we take that as low as 240 guests. So in terms of Cloud, she has 10 kayaks on board and 20 Zodiacs. And then we have the Silver Wind. So Silver Wind is having a refurb later this year. So she had a part 1 refurb a couple of years ago, just in terms of getting her ready for expedition. And then she is also being fitted with a ice strengthened hull as well later this year, which is really exciting. So just to show you just some of the images. Now these particular images are based on the Silver Cloud. Just to give you a feel of what life's on board, like on board. So this is our restaurant. So it's open dining, a really beautiful restaurant, a la carte menu. We have the Dolce Vita bar, you know, a great place for pre and post dinner drinks. We have the Explorer Lounge. So the Explorer Lounge is quite a key part of an expedition voyage, because this is the place where the expedition team will do the recaps at the end of the day, but also prepare you for the next day as well. So, you know, maybe the arrangements with the zodiacs, or potential when, you know, sightings of wildlife as well. We have some beautiful restaurants on board. This is La Terrazza. So it's an indoor restaurant with an outside terrace. So, you know, you will get opportunity to sit outside in some destinations. I did a partial Arctic voyage, and one day it was freezing cold and raining, and the next day I was sat on the deck. So, you know, you really get a real mixture of weather there. We have a fantastic photo studio as well on some of our ships, which allows you to edit your pictures and also print those off as well. We have the grill on board our ships, and this is probably one of my favourite places, really, to be honest. It's perfect with expedition. So you get your hot lava stone, and you can cook your own steak or fish on board, and you're in the open air, and if it gets a bit cold, they'll bring you a blanket. You sat under the stars. It's just a really wonderful place to go in the evening. And then we do have a good sized pool deck on board Silver Cloud and Silver Wind. As I mentioned, you know, there are some opportunities, but the pool is actually heated as well, so that does help in colder climates. We have the observation lounge on our ships, and this is a fantastic place just to get away from, you know, just you can sit there with a nice book and just look at the amazing scenery. But also, if the weather is adverse as well, you know, you just want to have a great view. This is actually at the front of the ship, so if you're approaching a, you know, a beautiful part, you know, you can actually see all that in the comfort and warmth. And then on board, we do obviously have things like fitness centres and the beauty salons as well. And in terms of types of suites, we do offer a good range of different types, starting from a Vista, which is a picture window suite, right up to the owner's suite, which is, you know, plenty of space there. You know, and some of our guests prefer, you know, to travel on our grand suite, which offers more, you know, external space as well. So it just depends on what the guest requires. I'm going to show you this video now, which is just absolutely beautiful.
What does it mean? I guess it's the same for all of us. We wake up in the morning and we feel one lifetime will never be enough. Not enough to know, to see, to feel everything you want. That's why we explore. It doesn't really matter how far you go, how often or how long you travel for. We do it because every step we take, our souls become larger, richer, more defined. Life wouldn't be life without a little curiosity. The world is full of opportunities. You have to go out and take them.
Just a really beautiful video there, which just kind of summarizes our expedition product. One thing I'd say is there's so many videos on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, in terms of particular destinations, and you know, to really showcase them. Some really in-depth ones as well. You know, just definitely worth the watch. So I'm going to start with the Arctic. So why travel to the Arctic? You know, first of all, the amazing, pristine, rugged mountains. You've got glaciers. icebergs, and also the deep fjords as well. You've got constant spectacular scenic views, so it's perfect for those, you know, with a passion for discovery. But, you know, as I've said before, you're not compromising on the lifestyle on board as well. It's a vast area, as you can see there. So it's actually made up of 8 different countries. So it was Finland, Sweden, Norway, Iceland, Greenland, Canada, United States, obviously being Alaska, and then Russia. It is a place of extreme weather. So, you know, it's one of the most coldest, darkest places on Earth. You know, the North Pole has 163 days of total darkness, whilst in the summer, it is the land of the midnight sun. And I have experienced the midnight sun, and it is the most amazing thing to experience. At 1 a.m, you are out on the deck, and, you know, it is daylight. You know, thankfully, Silversea really invest in their curtains, so obviously you're not affected in terms of sleep. But, you know, it is just an amazing experience. In terms of the wildlife as well, you know, so much wildlife to be seen. You know, some obviously it proves too harsh for some species, but some obviously live year round. The most famous, obviously, of course, being the polar bear. And you know, also you've got the Arctic wolf, you've got the reindeer, the Arctic fox, you've got the snow hare as well. You can also see so many different types of whales. Occasionally you can see killer whales and humpback whales. You can see walrus, seals, and then puffins as well, you know, who live there all year round. So a fantastic place to go to experience plenty of different types of wildlife. So because of the Gulf Stream, it allows us to for the Arctic Circle to be transversed all year round. We obviously feature Tromsø as a start point occasionally within our itineraries, and this is the region's largest city, and it lies far north of the Arctic Circle. As well as Tromsø, we also start voyages in Reykjavik and Longyearbyen, and we've also got ones that actually head back into Dublin as well. The one that I actually went on a few years ago actually started in Leith in Edinburgh. So what we do at Silversea is we don't have the same itineraries back to back. We constantly change those, you know, so it offering a different experience. So for my voyage, I went to the Orkney Islands as well as obviously the Arctic. So a fantastic opportunity to see lots of different places with Silversea. So in terms of Svalbard, it is known as the land of the polar bear. There's between 2,500 to 3,000 polar bears. Obviously, we can't guarantee that you're going to see a polar bear, but obviously we will do our absolute best to make sure that happens. Jan Mayen is a very, very rarely visited outpost. It's absolutely beautiful. Black lava beaches. You know, you can obviously find lots of Atlantic puffins there as well. Just somewhere really unique that we do go to. Obviously, one of the polar bears there, the main draw, I think, for the Arctic, I'd say. And then Greenland, the world's biggest island, but it's also the least densely populated as well. Beautiful villages and stunning fjords. And amazing icebergs as well. The Northern Lights are also one of the main attractions as well. Just some beautiful icebergs there. They're pretty incredible. Yeah, the Northern Lights are obviously a key attraction. We don't have any voyages that we dedicate to seeing them where we guarantee you seeing them, but what tends to happen is that you see them anyway whilst you're travelling with Silversea, and we will alert you to that whilst you're on board. We also travel to the Canadian Arctic as well. So this is made up of 36,000 islands, and obviously the cruise is the best way to discover that. We travel to both the Northwest Passage and also the Northeast Passage as well. You know, the Northwest Passage, obviously, from, you know, travellers who wanted to get to the Pacific Ocean, a northerly route. And like I say, obviously you've got the Northeast Passage as well there as an option, which I think it's 5,090 nautical miles, and it's a real you know, a true expedition, ultimate expedition experience, and you travel as far north as the ice will let you, in essence. And then moving on to Antarctica. So this picture here is a genuine picture that was taken last year. So on the left hand side is our Silver Whisper. She was on her world cruise at the time, which also travelled to Antarctica. And then on the right hand side is the Silver Cloud, who was in Antarctica anyway. So our crew obviously went out to go and take a picture of the two ships together, because it doesn't really happen that often. I don't think it's ever happened with those two ships. And two whales decided to join as well. So it's just amazing picture, and just shows you, you know, what you can expect whilst in Antarctica. You know, obviously in terms of why you go to Antarctica, the wildlife is the biggest draw. You know, you've got the penguins waddling across the ice, you've got the leopard seals who are quite happy to swim right by your Zodiac, you know, and obviously the whales as well, as you've just seen. One thing I will say is that we are committed, as is all cruise lines, to you know, travelling responsibly to this particular area under the Antarctic Treaty System. You know, it's really important to us, and we, you know, there's obviously rules in place that we kind of can't do, and it's, you know, things like, you know, when you embark after a landing site, you need to have your boots cleaned by our staff, so we're not obviously transmitting things from one landing site to another. So, you know, we really take care on things like that. And, you know, in terms of the human footprint, it's fairly kind of barely visible, to be honest with you. And, you know, in terms of that treaty, you know, it does allow for Antarctica to be a completely protected destination, and will allow that destination to be amazing, obviously, for the years to come. So in Antarctica, obviously, you pass, you know, icebergs that are as big as large buildings. You know, you'll make Zodiac landings on beaches where, you know, very few have actually set foot on. We operate in the summer months of Antarctica, so the pack ice begins to melt from late November to early December. So the warmest days are between mid-December to mid-January. So this is the perfect time to witness penguins and their chicks. And what tends to happen then is that the whale sightings become more frequent, because the receding ice obviously opens up other channels for exploration for them. And then in terms of the late summer, so this is from end of January until the end of February, this is the time when your dolphin and whale sightings are at a peak as well. And then in addition to that, you know, you can see lots of different penguin types. You can see obviously the king penguin in South Georgia, the chin strap penguins, the Gentoo penguins. So just so much to see, absolutely plenty. So in terms of where we go in Antarctica, so starting with the peninsula, this is a region of protected bays. And here we find many chin strap penguins, and they're known for the little line there across the chin, and then the Gentoo penguins as well. And just, you know, what amazing, you know, encounters with whales, as you can see there from the bottom of the picture. They are our guests who are that whale. All these pictures are our pictures. You know, just amazing experience. I mentioned before about the seals. You know, they're just sat there on ice floes basking, you know, and just an amazing so close experience. So Ushuaia, this is the gateway to Antarctica. It's in Argentina. So lots to do there, obviously, if you're there prior to your cruise. So you can do trekking, fishing, horseback riding, wildlife spotting as well. So that's where we tend to start and end these voyages. We also offer a way to avoid the Drake Passage as well. So the Drake Passage is a 500-mile wide part of water named after Sir Francis Drake. And it is an amazing experience, you know, and if you want the true experience of expedition, I think most people would say to do the Drake Passage, because there's two currents that meet. So a warm water, and then you've got cold water flowing northward. So when these currents meet, it throws up lots of nutrients. So what happens is you see lots of whales and seabirds and everything else. And I think it's just all part of the experience of going to Antarctica. And then Antarctica Sound. So the main attractions here are the icebergs, and it's actually called Iceberg Alley because it's just so you know, covered in amazing, beautiful icebergs. And then moving on to the South Shetland Islands. You've also got plenty of different types of penguins here. So as well as the chinstrap and the Gen 2 penguins, you have the Adelie penguins as well. And you also have the leopard seals. And then in terms of the Falkland Islands, so not all voyages go here. It depends on the length of the voyage that you take. So I can show you that later in terms of what the itineraries we do. But for some, we do go to the Falkland Islands. So Falklands is obviously a British territory. It's made up of 2 islands. So you've got East Falkland and then you've got West Falkland. And then you've also got some smaller islands as well. And this is home to the elusive king penguins, which are absolutely amazing. Amazing creatures. This is just a stunning picture. You just can't imagine it to be real. And then you've also got, on the new island as well, you can see the rockhopper penguins as well whilst you're there. And then Tiny Stanley is the capital of the Falklands, and it's very much like a British village. And then moving on to South Georgia, a very picturesque island. You can find all the southern fur seals, you can see southern elephant seals as well. So South Georgia is obviously linked to the early Antarctica explorers, the most famous being Ernest Shackleton. So whilst you're there, you can obviously visit Ernest Shackleton's grave, but also what's nice is the Whaling Museum as well, is to visit there. And then obviously, you know, you can go to the one of the king penguin colonies here as well at Salisbury Plain or Gold Harbour as well. Now, one thing people say is obviously with the restrictions on Antarctica, you can't approach too closely the wildlife. However, the penguins don't know the rule. So obviously what tends to happen is they will approach you and you will get, you know, quite close, and you can see that these are our guests here with a couple of penguins there in the mist. You know, you can really experience some, you know, amazing hikes, and, you know, you've got different types of excursions whilst you're on board to suit different fitness levels or just what you want to do, to be quite honest with you. Obviously we spend a lot of time on the Zodiac boats in this region, and you can see there to the top kind of left of your screen, you can see one a bit more kind of having a more in-depth explore there. Like I say, it's just a fabulous way to really get into the heart of your destination. Some more just lovely pictures. So in terms of the itineraries that we do, these are just a couple of examples. So if you are take the first one that you can see there, that is normally around between 10 to 12 days voyage with us. And then we also have you know, more of a 14-day itinerary which goes to the Falklands. And then if you want to do South Georgia and the Falklands, you're looking at around 18 days. We do have some as well which explore deeper south into Antarctica, which are kind of at least 20 days voyage. So it just depends on what you would like to do. In addition to that, we have something called Antarctica Bridge. So this basically cuts out the Drake Passage. So you spend 6 days on board in Antarctica. So if you are short on time, you know, because 20 days is quite a long time to be away, then this is an opportunity as well for you to experience that destination. And then just on the Galapagos, to move on, so a little bit of a different climate now. So we are so lucky to have the Origin year-round in the Galapagos. Unfortunately, she was actually delivered to us in the summer of last year, so she hasn't sailed with any guests on at the moment. So we really hope to obviously change that in the coming months. She has 100 guest capacity. She was built for purpose, really, in terms of expedition. We were able to kind of really influence what we needed as a business on board the ship, and she's absolutely beautiful. So this is the Explorer's Lounge. So this is more of a casual kind of setting rather than the theatre style that you may have seen on the other ships before. So the same kind of thing. This is where the briefings will be held, but also as well, this we think will be a very integral part of the cruise as well, where people will actually gather and spend time with our expedition team and also each other as well, which is, you know, just so important, and what it's all about at Silversea. Some beautiful outside areas. We really are keen on bringing the outside in on board Silversea, and you'll notice a lot of you won't really see many obstructed views as well. That's really, really key for us here, because, you know, that's again what it's all about, is seeing the wildlife in its own habitat. So this is the observation lounge on board Silver Origin. Just a beautiful place to go and sit and absorb your surroundings. We've got lovely jacuzzis on board, amazing views there. And our suites are absolutely stunning. We've got a good range again of suites on board on the Silver Origin. This particular one I'm showing you now is the Grand Suite, so a beautiful veranda there, plenty of space, a beautiful bathroom with an amazing view. So hopefully that just gives you a flavour of what Silver Origin is like. So in terms of the Galapagos, you can see on the map there where it's located. So it was brought under protection in 1959 when the islands became part of Ecuador's national park. And we are again committed to the preservation, you know, and the itineraries do include a visit to the Charles Darwin Foundation, so our guests can be educated further about the conservation issues and the importance of protecting this rare ecosystem. So we offer two different types of itineraries. We offer the North Central and then the West Central. They're 7 days each. And so obviously you can of course do them back to back, which, you know, if you want to see everything, then that would be our recommendation. But also feeling that, because obviously it's a long way for us to go, you could do a Machu Picchu land tour as well on the back of that. So in terms of the Western itinerary, some of the key highlights are the Pinnacle Rock. You can visit the largest marine iguana colony as well. And then the North Central itinerary, it's the huge seabird colonies, but also you can see the breeding station for the Galapagos giant tortoises as well. So an amazing opportunity there. So in terms of kind of key facts of the Galapagos, so it's year round. So we've got Silver Origin. She doesn't go anywhere else. She's always based out in the Galapagos. I mentioned before, we've got the two itineraries there, both 7 days each. So our cost does include the pre-cruise hotel. It includes the domestic flights, but also now we include the flights from the UK. National park fees, obviously the cruise itself, and then the flights back to mainland Ecuador. So in terms of weather, so the warm rainy season is January to June, and then the dry season is July to December. Now, when people say when's the best time to travel to the Galapagos, one thing I would say is obviously when you can travel, but also what you want to see whilst you're in the Galapagos as well. So this is just, you know, a sample of you know, what you can see, you know, and then there's the end of the year as well. So, you know, if you wanted to go swimming with baby sea lions, you know, I'd say go in November and experience that. So that's kind of, that for me is the key driver of when you would actually travel. And here's some just some lovely pictures just to show you. So the islands are actually home to 30% of the planet's blue-footed boobies, as well as the largest colony of red-footed boobies as well. I remember seeing something about Charles Darwin had said the Galapagos Islands are an absolute paradise for reptiles. You know, so obviously the highlights include the giant tortoise, the land iguana, the lava lizard, but also sea turtles as well. And these guys, the marine iguanas, which are the world's only seagoing lizards, and they're found out in the Galapagos. So you see something so unique by travelling to this part of the world. One thing to say is that our local experts, so all of our experts on board are actually permanent residents of the Galapagos, and they're fully certified for that as well. So those with our expedition leaders, they will introduce you to, you know, all the amazing nature that can be found, and they will accompany you on your adventures ashore and also in the zodiacs, as you can see there. And then just to finish off with some close encounters with our guests of some wildlife. Just amazing, beautiful, beautiful part of the world. And then I'm just going to finish off really by just highlighting, you know, and just indicating kind of the price points that you're looking at for expedition. So this particular one here is for Galapagos, so it's 7 days. So this starts at £8,190 per person, and that will be for a classic veranda suite. So, you know, as I mentioned before, it does include your air, it does include all your, you know, your guides, expedition team, it includes your butler service, your gratuities, your dining as well. And then this voyage here is Ushuaia to Ushuaia, so Antarctica, on board Silver Explorer. It's 10 days, departing on the 4th of March 2023. And this particular voyage, so it doesn't go to the Falklands or South Georgia, so it is a shorter one, but it starts at £9,720 per person. And then finally, this is one for the Arctic, so it's 6 days on board Silver Cloud, July the 20th next year. So for a Vista Suite, you're looking at £5,670 per person. I've just added some obviously extra suite categories there, so you can see the different range of prices as well. And that's not by no means exhaustive. There's all different types of suite categories in between this as well. And I'm going to hand you back over to Emma now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. That's just really taken me back for my trip on Explorer. Because we touched on Ecuador throughout the trip, and I was really lucky enough to be there at the end of October. So the blue-footed boobies were all hatching. There were chicks everywhere. So I was really lucky enough to get quite up close and personal with the blue-footed boobies, the red-footed boobies. It's such an incredible experience when you do an expedition cruise. That wildlife is so close to you, and you know, just mirroring everything that you said there. The expedition leaders are phenomenal, absolutely superb. So even things that you might not necessarily be intended to do the trip for, there's always something of interest on every single day. You really do learn a lot. So it's a fantastic experience. Thank you very much for bringing that, as you know, bringing that to us as much as you have there, bringing it to life. It was superb. Now, for everybody watching, we have got an extra bonus event for you for joining us today. So for any bookings made with Silversea, now that's not just based on the expedition cruises. Silversea appreciate an expedition cruise might not be for everybody. As Sarah said at the start of the presentation, they do have the classic fleet as well. So anywhere in the world is covered with Silversea. So anything at all that you'd like to look at and confirm in the next 14 days, we've got an additional £200 per person saving. I will touch base with everybody later today or first thing in the morning. I'll send you a copy of the recording. So if you want to watch anything back, you can do so at your leisure. And if there's any questions that anybody has, please don't hesitate to get in touch. As I'd said at the start of the presentation, if anybody would like a chat with myself about, you know, my individual experience with Silversea on the expedition, please don't hesitate to let me know. And I just want to thank you again for joining us today. And I'll be in touch certainly very soon. So thank you, and we'll speak to you all again.